He wasn't a shadow in the alley. He was the man on the corner, smiling kindly at a child. Luis Garavito didn't look like a killer. He wore second-hand clothes. He walked with a limp. Sometimes he offered candy or coins. Other times he held a Bible. He told children he was a teacher, or a priest, or someone's uncle, but behind that smile was La Bestia, the beast. Over the course of just a few years in Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru, Luis Garavito confessed to murdering 147 boys. Authorities believe the number may be closer to 300. And the most disturbing part, no one noticed. For years, in towns plagued by poverty and conflict, missing children weren't front-page news. Many had no families, no birth records, and no one to ask why they never came home. Act 1. The Making of a Beast. Luis Alfredo Garavito Cubelos was born in 1957 in Colombia, a small mountain town with bigger problems than just poverty. His childhood was a horror show. He was beaten by his alcoholic father, sexually abused by neighbors and relatives, and completely neglected by everyone who should have protected him. He dropped out of school at a young age, fell into alcoholism, but always managed to blend in. Garavito worked odd jobs: street vendor, butcher's assistant, store clerk. He bounced around cities, slept in alleys, lived like a ghost. No address, no paper trail. But while he drifted on the surface, inside, something was festering. He began stalking children, watching them walk to school, learning how they moved, who they trusted, and where they played when no one was looking. He didn't just want to kill, he wanted to dominate, and humiliate, and erase. In his own words, "I lost control. My mind went black. I couldn't stop myself." His first kill wasn't investigated. Neither was his second, or third, or 10th, because the boys he targeted were invisible. Homeless, poor, orphans, refugees. In Colombia, there were thousands of them, and to many in power, they weren't missed. Too, a pattern of horror. Garavito developed a system, a horrifying, efficient system. He would walk the streets of unfamiliar towns, searching for boys between 6 and 16. He'd offered them money for help with errands, carrying groceries, collecting donations. Sometimes he dressed as a priest or charity worker, other times as a disabled man in need. He targeted the kind ones, the polite ones, the ones who said yes. He would lead them out of town, into sugarcane fields, abandoned buildings, steep hillsides, places no one went, places no one would hear screams. Then he would torture them. Some victims were tied up, others were blindfolded, many were sexually assaulted before being mutilated and killed. The torture could last hours. He carried a blade, a screwdriver, even broken bottles. What he did wasn't just about death. It was ritual. Each crime scene showed similar patterns. Deep cuts, bite marks, objects inserted. Some victims were burned. Others were decapitated. And after it was done, he'd vanish into the city again. Hop on a bus, change his clothes, drink until he passed out. He kept journals, not of remorse, but of names, dates, and towns. And each time, no arrest, because Colombia in the 1990s was already soaked in blood, drug wars, guerrilla fighters, kidnappings, and no national database to track serial crime. Garavito knew that. He counted on it. A trail of bones. By the mid-1990s, skeletons started showing up. In Palmyra, in Pereira, in Tunja, dozens of bodies, all boys, discovered in rows, in clusters, in open fields. Each one showed signs of torture. Police dismissed it. At first, they thought it was drug cartel violence. or gang rituals, but when the body count passed 40, and similar patterns emerged, they couldn't deny it anymore. A task force was finally formed, but they were already too late. Garavito had been killing for over 5 years. He moved quickly. He never stayed in one city for more than a few weeks, and he used over 20 fake identities. It wasn't until a child survived that the case cracked open. In 1997, a boy escaped a kidnapping attempt in Bestia. He described the man: a limp, thick glasses, an old hat. He even remembered the voice. That description would haunt detectives for weeks. Then came the break. A backpack found near another crime scene. Inside, eyeglasses, a blade, a crumpled diary, and dozens of receipts, bus tickets, phone cards, and a note referencing the name Luis Garavito. The hunt was on. The confession: Garavito was finally arrested in 1999. Not for murder, but for attempted rape. He had approached another child, and this time there were witnesses. Police found him drunk, disheveled, and in possession of strange items: lube, rope, blades. At first, he gave a false name, but when investigators cross-referenced his belongings with those found at crime scenes, the glasses, the blade, the notebook, the connection became clear. They had their monster. The interrogation took days. But when Garavito realized what evidence they had, he gave in. Not with shame, but with pride. He confessed to killing 140 children, then later amended it to over 190. He detailed the murders, town by town, name by name, even dates. Investigators were horrified. His memory was sharp, chilling. He had kept a map, a private murder tour across Colombia. He broke down once, only once. When asked if he believed in God, he said yes, and began to cry. "I ask forgiveness," he said, but no one believed he deserved it. Police matched 138 of his victims, but many graves remain unmarked, unknown. Some boys never had missing persons reports. They were street children, invisible to the system, not to him. Luis Garavito was convicted on 138 counts of murder. His sentence: 1,853 years in prison, the longest in Colombian history. But here's the catch. Colombia had a maximum sentence cap of just 40 years. And because he cooperated, led police to remains, and showed good behavior, his sentence was reduced to 22 years. 22 years for killing nearly 200 children. This outraged the nation. Families protested. Politicians called for emergency legal reforms. People feared. What if he gets out? As of 2025, Garavito is dead. He died in prison in 2023 from cancer. No remorse, no final apology, no redemption. He left behind horror and questions about justice that remain unanswered. Luis Garavito didn't hide in the shadows. He walked among the people. He used kindness as a weapon, religion as a disguise, and poverty as his hunting ground. He is proof that the worst monsters don't wear masks. They hold Bibles, they wear glasses, they smile. And the question we're left with isn't how did he kill so many? It's why did it take so long for someone to stop him? History isn't boring. You've just never heard it told like this. Welcome to UTAK Diaries, where every fact feels like a plot twist.